Speedrunning is not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of patience, and a lot of skill. But somehow, the Nintendo World Championships NES Edition makes speedrunning digestible for just about anybody. To honor the actual Nintendo World Championships, this game gathers both small and large challenges from the Nintendo Entertainment System. For example, in the original Mario Bros., one of the challenges is to get the first mushroom as quickly as you can. And obviously, this challenge is almost a no-brainer. It's the first thing you do in the original Super Mario Bros. But since this game is tracking your time while you're running through these challenges, you're gonna realize that maybe I can get that mushroom a little quicker. Maybe if I jump up to the platform to meet the mushroom as it comes out of the box, I can shave a couple of seconds off. This is the kind of thing that's gonna go through your head as you play Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. And so to take that a step further, there's 3 different ways you can play this game. The first mode is called Speedrun Mode, which just has you taking on whatever challenge you choose. As you're completing challenges, you're earning coins based on how well you did, and you use those coins to unlock new challenges. You can also use these coins to unlock new icons for your profile, which you'll then be using online. Which brings us to the other 2 modes in this game, which are World Championships and Survival. Survival is broken up into 2 different categories. There's Silver and Gold, and the challenges within these tiers change every week. These survival modes are set up like a tournament bracket, but the real interesting thing here is that you're not actually playing against live people. Instead, you're competing against their ghost save data, which is literally just a recording of what they did in their runs. At first, this doesn't sound very exciting to me. Why would I want to play against a ghost simulation of somebody's score? It's a lot more exciting to be playing live against other people, right? So to simulate that tournament feel, survival mode actually shows you the other player's data in real time. Yes, it is pre-recorded, but you're still seeing it as it's happening against your own gameplay, so you are essentially racing them. The only downside here is that the challenges do take an entire week to rotate out. I would love it if this game had like a daily challenge mode, but regardless, this is still really fun. And that brings us to the 3rd major mode in this game, which is World Championships mode. In this mode, there are 5 different challenges, which again gets rotated out every week. But instead of directly competing against other players, you select a challenge and then you run through it. And when you complete your challenge, the game sends your score up to the leaderboard. And you can do these challenges over and over again. So if you get a better score, the game is going to upload that score to the servers. And at the end of the week, you're given a rundown of where you placed not only globally, but also within your age bracket, which I thought was kind of cool. So between these game modes, the game is encouraging you to not only compete against others online, but mainly with yourself. So bringing it all the way back to speedrun mode, one of the best ways to play this game is just by working through challenges slowly and unlocking new ones so that you can try new things. When it comes to the difficulty in this game, there's a really wide range. On the simpler side of things, there's a challenge in Super Mario Bros. 2 where you just pick up a turnip. My record with this one is 1.1 seconds, which might sound fast, but the challenge is literally running right and hitting B. And even though this kind of challenge is so simple it felt mindless, I still had a good time finding ways to fine-tune that run. And going to the other side of the coin, the last challenge in the Super Mario Bros. 1 lineup is playing the entire game with the warp route. That means basically skipping from World 1 to World 4 to World 8 and then beating Bowser. So aside from these more familiar challenges, you might find some games on this list that you've just never played before. In my case, it was Kid Icarus. I've never played Kid Icarus. I've obviously heard of Kid Icarus, and I've played as Kid Icarus in Smash Brothers. But now, thanks to the Nintendo World Championships, I've been exposed to Kid Icarus in a competitive setting. So if I ever go to play the full game on my own, I'll be ready. One game that I was extremely happy to see included in this pack is Balloon Fight. Now, I love Balloon Fight. If it's ever at an arcade and I'm there, I'm playing Balloon Fight. It's one of the more difficult NES games, but it's one of my favorites, mainly because it's just so different. You're playing as this little guy floating around on a couple of balloons, and your goal is to knock other dudes off of their balloons. But I feel lucky to have some experience with Balloon Fight because I can't imagine playing it for the first time in this championship setting. Because the best way to describe the controls in Balloon Fight is this. Imagine the Super Mario Bros. 1 swimming level, but for an entire game, and the controls are a lot more floaty. Now, how quickly can you pop a balloon under those circumstances? There's also challenges from Zelda 2, which is the notoriously less popular Zelda game, but I actually think that these challenges are a great way to experience the game because a lot of the Zelda challenges are based on the combat, and if you ask me, the controls in Zelda 2 are probably the least popular part of the game. So being able to isolate certain scenarios in the game and practice boss fights might actually make a lot of people revisit the game. But one of the most fascinating parts of the Nintendo World Championships NES Edition to me has been the way that people enjoy watching watching this game. When I brought this game home for the first time and started playing it on the TV, my partner was actually really invested. Usually she can't stand it when a game has you doing something over and over and over again, but that's all you do in the Nintendo World Championships. You're resetting these challenges almost constantly because you're trying to fine-tune very minute details about what you're doing. But I think there's a really good sweet spot here between the nostalgia of the game. Obviously, you're watching people play all these old Nintendo games in this competitive setting, but there's also this joy and gratification of watching somebody improve slowly over time. She saw me making little adjustments to my jumps and my strategy while I was playing this, and I think that was just entertaining. And if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense because one of the first things that made streaming a popular thing was speedrunning. So to see Nintendo embrace speedrunning in such a big way by making an entire game that focuses on it is actually a really big deal. And while I'm not personally going to change my focus to speedrunning, I do have a feeling that this game is going to inspire a whole new generation of speedrunners. But that doesn't mean you have to feel this competitive urge to enjoy this game, because there's a lot of fun to be had by just beating your own scores. In fact, I would say that this game puts a lot more emphasis on you competing with yourself than it does competing with other people online. But that isn't to say it's not very cool to see what people wind up doing to get their scores, because there are some really good players out there and they're all enjoying this game right now. But rather than being discouraged by how good other players are, I've actually found myself to be excited to try what they do during my own runs. So I think that the Nintendo World Championships NES Edition is actually a big sign of what might be to come from Nintendo. And since this game is called the NES Edition, one could only assume that there's going to be a Super Nintendo version of this or an N64 version. But in the meantime, I think that there's going to be a really good community around this game if Nintendo supports it in the right ways. Maybe they'll add more mini games, maybe they'll find new ways to have us compete online. All in all, this is one of the more unique games that I've played in recent history. So if you're playing the Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, what's your best score? What's your favorite challenge? Feel free to brag about your best scores in the comments of this video. If you liked this video, make sure you like the video. If you really like this video and want to see more of this, then make sure you subscribe to my channel. And of course, thank you very much for letting me talk your ear off about the Nintendo World Championships NES Edition.